Welcome back to another week of Power Rankings. My name is Hunter, and today we're going to get into the 32 teams of the NFL after Week 4. And Week 4 was a confusing week. It's kind of hard to determine who the best and who the worst teams are right now, but I'm going to get into that today. If you guys like these videos, make sure to like and subscribe. We're on the way to 250, so help me get there, and let's just get right into this week's Power Rankings. League's only 0-4 team. I have the Jacksonville Jaguars. They lost a nail-biter to the Houston Texans this past weekend, and it's looking not great for the Jacksonville organization right now. Doug Peterson is definitely on the hot seat. Trevor Lawrence, just after signing a big contract, he is now under turmoil because this team is 0-4. They are the only winless team across the entirety of the NFL, and that is extremely concerning because there are 31 other teams that have been able to do what this team hasn't been able to do. So this team's defense needs to tighten up. The offense, especially Trevor Lawrence, needs to be sharper, and ultimately the Jaguars have an opportunity this weekend versus the Colts to get on the win column. But for now, they sit at 32. Staying put at 31 this week, I have the New England Patriots. The Patriots lost pretty convincingly to the San Francisco 49ers this past weekend, and once again, Stevenson fumbled. I put emphasis on how he needed to be huge for them in order for them to get big victories, and this defense is not great. This defense cannot stop that much. Jacoby Brissett doesn't look good. He threw a pick six to Fred Warner. And for the Patriots, it's just not looking great. They have a win that they got week 1, which they are lucky to have. But for right now, they sit at 31. At number 30, we got the Carolina Panthers. They lost 34-24 to the Cincinnati Bengals. And Andy Dalton played well again. But this team's defense looked pretty terrible versus a Bengals offense that is starting to produce, but was definitely stoppable. And Carolina, they are a confusing team. They just drafted Bryce Young last year. He's gone to the bench, and they're playing much more competitively with Andy Dalton. It's going to be interesting to see what they do with Bryce Young. But for now, this team is focused around Dalton, and Deontay Johnson's looking good. Chuba Hubbard's looking good. And all of a sudden, there are pieces in Carolina that could help them get victories. So for now, they're at 30, though. At number 29, we have the New York Giants. They lost on Thursday Night Football 20-15 to the Dallas Cowboys. And in that game, Wan'Dale Robinson and Malik Nabers looked incredibly good, especially Malik Nabers. He had a concussion in that game, so his status against Seattle this week is up in the air. But Daniel Jones is holding this team back. I'm going to say it once again. This team is going to draft quarterback this offseason. But for now, they have to use these great receiver pieces they have. And this defense that shut down a Dallas offense that they might be slumping right now, but they're usually pretty good. And the Giants are going to have to try to compete this season. They've shown flashes, and that's why they're at 29. At 28, we got the Miami Dolphins, and this team without Tua Tagovailoa is not great. But for now, this Dolphins team is going to have to deal with having Tyler Huntley at quarterback. They haven't led for a single second this season, and that comes down to their offense being extremely disappointing. But their defense is also not doing the best of job, and this is a team that was in the playoffs last season, and they played pretty well 2 years ago when they didn't have Tua. But this season, something is not right about this team. Mike McDaniel's not doing a great job coaching-wise, and that's why they're at 28. This team was last in the rankings last week, but now they're moving up to 27. They beat the Dolphins team that I just talked about, and as soon as Will Levis goes, this team gets good. It's ironic, but this defense looked pretty good on Monday night, a game that not a lot of people watch because the other Monday night game was just better. But Mason Rudolph's going to do a good job. I think they're just going to turn to him at this point because Levis was not getting it done. But pieces are definitely there for the Titans, and now that they have this win, they can build off that, and I can see this Titans team potentially going on a run. So that's why they're at 27. The Cleveland Browns have an issue, and that is the quarterback, Deshaun Watson. This team loses embarrassingly to the Raiders this week, and the Raiders are missing a lot of key pieces, but this offense is just not able to do anything, and it's because Deshaun Watson is not the greatest for this team. This defense is still very good. They're still a, a big part of what they were last year. But there is a issue on the offense, and the Browns are going to need to figure it out before this season continues to spiral in the wrong way. So now the Browns are at 26. The LA Rams lose again, this time to the Chicago Bears. They're 1-3. Their one win was pretty convincing, but I'm going to continue to say that this team is way too hurt to really evaluate right now. They're missing their top two receivers, key piece on defense and the O-line. And this Rams team could have been so much more. I feel bad for them because truly they are relying on Kyren Williams, who got them that one win. And if he continues to play well, they might salvage some games while these pieces come back. But for now, the Rams are at 25. The Raiders win this week, and what a great job by head coach Antonio Pierce without many of the key guys like Davante Adams, Max Crosby, to win the game. They beat the Browns, and they're 2-2. They have a solid outlook on the season, but this team lost to the Panthers but beat the Ravens. There's not really a big way to determine what this team is right now, but their one issue is that Davante Adams wants out, and they're going to lose a key piece of their team once he gets traded. So right now, it's looking so-so for the Raiders. They're at 24. This is a team that I did not expect to be 2-2. I'm talking about the Denver Broncos. They got it done 10-9 over the Jets in a sloppy game in the rain at MetLife. And Bo Nix, not good at all from him, but this defense looks insane. They've only allowed 16 points across the last 2 weeks. They're looking great. Once Bo Nix figures it out, this Broncos team has a chance to go on a run. I think their one issue is that Bo Nix is still getting used to the NFL, but their defense seems to have figured it out to a T right now. And I think the Broncos are on the way up, and right now they're at 23. I'm going to remain on the Cardinals hype train a tiny bit, but this was the game that officially took many people off it. They're down to 22. And Murray, this was not a great game from him. Defense completely shut down this game. And they're 1-3. This was a team that their first two losses looked like good quality losses, but now the Cardinals are down in this early in the season, and that's something that you do not want to see. But I'm only dropping them to 22 because I still think there's potential in that team. The Bears get another sloppy victory over the LA Rams. They're up to 21. And this team is still figuring it out. This defense seems to know what they are. They know that they are a great defense. But the offense, it comes majorly down to Caleb Williams still being on this journey to figuring out this NFL thing for him. And DeAndre Swift, he played a much better game than what he was playing the first couple weeks. And I think the Bears are looking pretty solid. They're 2-2 right now, which is a pretty solid record. So they're looking pretty good right now. The Chargers play a close game with the defending back-to-back champions, but they're down to 20 for me. The offense just did not come alive after one touchdown early. And this was a game that they definitely could have won. The Chiefs were not at their best. And the Chargers just couldn't take advantage of it. And that's why they're kind of a middle-pack football team right now. I don't know if they're going to be great or bad. They're just kind of mid right now. So I have them at 20. Joe Flacco is still doing great things for football teams in 2024. The Colts win a game over the undefeated Steelers where Anthony Richardson went down with a hip injury. Flacco comes in and just looked un, uh, unbothered and composed as ever. This defense did a great job of limiting Justin Fields to committing the plays that he did. And I think the Colts are looking pretty good right now. They have the Jaguars on the schedule this week. They can get up to 3-2, and in Indy, it's looking up. And if Richardson comes back soon, this offense is going to continue to improve week after week. So I have them at 19. A sloppy loss from the New York Jets where their defense was on point. They limited Bo Nix to literally negative yards in the first half and then 60 in total, but the offense, non-existent. Offense did not score a touchdown in this one. They only put up 3 field goals. They just did not put themselves in a position to win. And this Jets team has a lot of potential. They could be really, really good, but they just need to win games like this if they want to be a playoff team. So for now, I have them at 18. The Saints hype train of the first 2 weeks seems to have died off. They lose in a close one to the Falcons, and this offense seems to have been figured out a bit. They're not putting up 40 points like they did in the first couple weeks, but 24 points is still pretty solid. The defense, they played pretty solid as well. They limited a Falcons offense that looks pretty good. They really only lost this game because of a Rashid Shaheed fumble on a punt that led to a touchdown, which is costly considering that's a game that potentially could matter when the records are measured at the end of the season. So for now, the Saints are at 17, but they're looking not bad. The Cincinnati Bengals are looking competent again. They get their first win of the season against the Carolina Panthers, and Chase Brown played amazing. He had 2 touchdowns in this one. The run game seemed to be there. The pass game was there. The only concern for this Bengals team right now is the defense needs to continue to figure it out. It seems like they kind of did this game, but it's not enough. But Cincinnati, I think they're officially back, and that's why I have them back up at 16. The Atlanta Falcons got a huge divisional win this week, and they're up to 15. This team is playing good football. They had a close loss to the Chiefs in week 3, where I did not drop them really at all because I thought they played good football. And this Falcons team is playing how I thought they would. They are looking like potential playoff team, and that's what you want to see out of the Falcons at this point in the year. Kirk Cousins is looking pretty good across his first 4 games as a Falcon, and the weapons on the offense seem like they are contributing, except Kyle Pitts, of course. But good looks from the Falcons early on here, and they're at 15. At number 14, I have the Dallas Cowboys, and this team got a ugly win against the Giants, and they lost a lot of guys. They lost DeMarcus Lawrence and Micah Parsons, both to injury in this one, where they're going to need them in an important game against the Steelers on Sunday Night Football in Week 5. But Dallas is back to 2-2. They have not looked the greatest through the first 4 games. There is definitely concerns around this offense, and that it's not really great. Dak's stats might look great, but it's because of a lot of garbage time touchdowns and their 2 blowout losses. But Dallas has the test to figure it out. So are they going to figure it out? That's what I don't know yet. So they're at 14. The Pittsburgh Steelers suffered their first loss to the season to the Indianapolis Colts, and what was, I think, a pretty good game. I think both teams looked pretty good. The Steelers team, they continue to have offensive improvement. Justin Fields does look like the guy in Pittsburgh for the future. It seems like that offense has really been molded around him, and it is beginning to work like it should. And I think that Fields is playing the best football of his career right now because he finally got out of Chicago, and that's what Pittsburgh wants. Pittsburgh just might need a couple of adds at the deadline, and this team is going to be ready to compete because this defense is still elite. So I have them at 13. Seattle loses a shootout on Monday Night Football to the Lions, but I'm not really concerned about them. They're looking pretty good to start off this season. Their 3 wins might have come against 3 teams that I have ranked towards the bottom of the rankings, but this Seattle team, their offense is amazing. Geno Smith leads the league in passing yards. He's on pace to throw over 5,000 yards right now, which is insane. Kenneth Walker comes back from injury, puts up 3 touchdowns. All the receivers are playing well. It's just this defense, which played solid over the first 3 weeks, got exposed yesterday, and they're going to need to figure it out a bit more before this upcoming stretch of the season. But for now, Seattle looking like a good football team. The Eagles continue to go between being a force to be reckoned with and a team that does not look very great. They got embarrassed versus the Bucs. In the first half, they really put up no fight. And in the second half, they did pick it up. But right now, the Philadelphia Eagles are concerning. And Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, that offense is looking solid, but this defense is not looking like what it should. So right now, I have them at 11. At the tail end of the top 10, I have the Green Bay Packers. They lost to the Minnesota Vikings by 2 this past weekend in a game they definitely could have won. Love turned over the ball a couple times. Their kicker missed 2 field goals. And this team was down 28-0 at one point, but they completely dominated the second half. They look pretty good. That was a really good Vikings team that is going to be ranked very high on this list. But Green Bay, they have the Rams and the Cardinals coming up. Those are 2 teams that are going to be a test, but I think they can beat. And this Green Bay team is going to start to pick up steam, I think. So they're at number 10. The 49ers look dominating against the Patriots. They stopped their 2-game slide, and the 49ers are looking pretty good again. I have them ranked above teams like the Packers and Eagles because I truly think the Niners are better than those teams. McCaffrey, he seems like he might be out long term, but the 49ers, they have Jordan Mason. He's been playing great. They have the receivers. Brock Purdy's playing well. I think the Niners are looking like a good team, so they're ranked inside the top 10 at number 9. Jaden Daniels right now is putting up better numbers than C.J. Stroud did last year in his rookie season. Jaden Daniels is amazing. And he has the Washington Commanders at number 8 this week. This defense figured it out. They allowed 33 points to the Bengals in week 3, but then a pretty good offense for the Cardinals limited them to 14. And the Commanders put up 42. This offense is elite. Cliff Kingsbury is a great offensive coordinator. And if you're a Commanders fan, there is a lot of hope for this team, just not only to make the playoffs, but in an NFC East where the weakened Cowboys and weakened Eagles potentially win the division. So right now it's looking really good for the Commanders, and they're at 8. The Buffalo Bills are at number 7, and the Bills, they got embarrassed on Sunday night, but I'm not that concerned about them. It was really just one okay game from them. Offensively, they weren't great, and then they just couldn't stop the run on defense, and that's why the game kind of got out of hand early. But for the Buffalo Bills, I think they have a good outlook for the rest of the season. I think Josh Allen is still playing great football right now, and Devontae Adams is out there. If the Bills went and got him, I wouldn't be surprised because I think that's the one thing the Bills could get to get them to the next level. So for right now, I got Buffalo at 7. The Buccaneers are a weird football team. They go from a loss to the Broncos that made me drop them down a lot, and now they have a really good win against the Eagles that made me move them back up to 6. And Baker Mayfield is playing incredible football right now. Mike Evans is playing well. Their whole offense seems like it's playing good. Bucky Irving is a breakout running back. Defensively, this team is looking really good. And Tampa Bay, in a tough NFC South, has emerged as kind of the best team, which is a good sign considering the other teams in that division. So right now, Tampa's at 6. Now we're getting back into the top 5. I have Houston at number 5. They played a good game against the Jaguars where they got the win. Stephon Diggs scored a rushing touchdown. He can really do it all. Nico Collins leads the league in receiving yards by almost 100, maybe even more. And this Texans team looks pretty good. They have a huge test against the Bills where they can get their first legit win that I'll count as a prove-it game for them. And Houston looking good, number 5. This team is the highest they've been in my power rankings the entire season. Baltimore absolutely destroys Buffalo on Sunday night. Derrick Henry and Saquon Barkley are going to have an incredible race for Offensive Player of the Year because each of them are putting up great numbers. And as for Baltimore's guy, Derrick Henry, he put this game out of hand for Buffalo early on. Defensively, team looked amazing. Lamar is making plays happen. And in Baltimore, there's a lot to look great about right now. So they're at number 4. At number 3, we got the Detroit Lions. They won a shootout against Seattle where Jared Goff was perfect. Literally did not miss a pass this game. Only completions. You can't ask for anything more out of your quarterback. And for the Lions, this defense is shaky at times, but they got the late game stops. They came up clutch when they needed it. And the Lions, their rushing attack on offense between Montgomery and Gibbs is great. St. Brown had a huge touchdown. Jamison Williams playing great. And the Lions are probably a top dog in the NFC this season, so they're at number 3. I was very, very close to putting this Vikings team at number 1 this week, but I have them at number 2. They're 4-0. Their offense looks pretty flawless outside of a second half where they didn't play great against the Packers, but the first half, they were absolutely out of this world. Sam Darnold playing the best football he has ever played. Justin Jefferson is looking amazing. Aaron Jones is playing better than he was on the Packers. This defense, Brian Flores knows how to stop every team he faces, and Minnesota is looking like a Super Bowl contender. Who would have thought that before the season, that they would be one of the last 2 undefeated teams along with the Kansas City Chiefs, who we'll get to in a second. But this Vikings team is for real. And they play the Jets this week in a game where it's another prove it, because if the Vikings win this game against a good defense, I think I will have to put them at 1. So, Minnesota, number 2, almost number 1. And barely staying at number 1, just based off the fact this team has a championship pedigree, is Kansas City. They barely get it done against LA this week. They lose Rashee Rice for the season because Mahomes took out his own guy. Defensively, this team is great. Offensively, they're having the same concerns they had all of last season until the postseason, which is their receivers are not great. This team is already looking to make moves at the deadline, and I think they will. I think this Kansas City team is going to get a guy that's going to make this Kansas City team look like a convincing number 1 team in the NFL. And Patrick Mahomes, he's not at his best, but I think Mahomes is going to get there this season to being that best player in the NFL that he is. So Kansas City remains at number 1, but there's definitely question marks there. But that's going to do it for this video. And if you guys liked it, make sure to like and subscribe, share it with your friends, and the Hot Takes video is coming out Thursday, so stay tuned, and I'll see you guys next video.